Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of my channel. Today we'll be solving a challenge from TryHackMe. So let's head straight to the TryHackMe platform. In my browser. Okay, so we go to tryhackme.com. From my previous video, I mentioned about a room called Lian Yu. So that's a challenge we're gonna be trying today. So we just search for Lian Yu. We have it here. And what do? It's a beginner level security challenge. And this is the walkthrough. So these are the challenges we have to solve. We have to provide these answers in order to complete the room. So let's start. Let's start the machine. So the machine, the IP should be ready in about 45 seconds. You can add 1 hour. I'm not sure it will take us more than an hour to complete this challenge, but let's just add another hour to have enough time. So whilst we're waiting for the IP, we can do some house cleaning. Let me bring up my terminal because I'm gonna do most of the magic from the terminal here. So what I will do is I have a folder dedicated for TryHackMe challenges, and I've created a shortcut to that folder. So if I type TMH, it should take me to the TryHackMe folder. I have a lot of shortcuts I use, so if it doesn't have to do with the challenge, I use my shortcuts. If you want to know how the shortcuts are created, you can comment and I'll try to make a separate video to show how I create those shortcuts. So lovely. Let's see whether our IP is ready. Yes, so we have our IP now. So if we copy our IP and try to ping it, I know the outcome. We will not be able to ping this IP because we are not on the same network. Okay, so you can see that we are not getting any responses from the server. So we are on a different network. So in order to be able to reach this IP, we have to connect to a VPN. So we use OpenVPN to try to connect to TryHackMe network. All right. So mostly before I start using my terminal, I always bring up Tmux. It's a terminal multiplexer. I don't know how I can actually work on my terminal without Tmux. So okay, before I go into Tmux, I have to create a folder I'll be doing this challenge in. So the name of the room is Lian Yu, so I have to give it a descriptive name. I mean the folder. So okay, Lian Yu. So now I have a folder called Lian Yu. I can enter CD into the folder. Okay, CD into Lian Yu. So now I'm in Lian Yu. So all my files, everything are gonna be put here. And what I also do most of the time is to create a note. A note. I have some notes. I take some notes whilst I'm walking through the challenge. Okay, so I'll use Sublime. Sublime. How should I call this? So I'll just say Lian Yu notes. All right. So all my notes will be here. All right. So I come back to my terminal. and then I will now bring up my tmux. All right, so I'm in tmux now. Can do a lot of multiplexing. Okay, so I have to make some cleanup with tmux. So you don't have to do this. I'll go into the challenge, but this is just something I do most of the time. So you don't have to use tmux if you don't know about tmux. Okay, but I can promise you that if you start using tmux, you can never do without it from your terminal. All right, so I have my tmux environment properly set up. What I have to do now is to set up my VPN. But before I set up my VPN, I always make sure I have separate windows for all the tasks I want to do on a particular machine. So I give VPN a separate window and all the other activities I may be performing. So I will just rename this window as VPN. So I have a VPN window. I can create another window. I'll name this window Nmrp. I'll create another window and then I'll name it mix. So mix means miscellaneous. So if I want to perform an activity, I don't know the outcome or how to describe it, I'll just come to miscellaneous. That's where I will do all my activities. I don't have to name. Okay, so I head back to my tmux window, sorry, my VPN window, and then I can connect to my VPN. I have some VPN shortcuts or VPN scripts already created, so I'm not going to go into how to use this VPN aliases. I've created them already. So VPN. So if I type this, it should be able to connect to my VPN. So my VPN connection is completed. All right. So I'll go into my Nmrp window. Now, if I ping the IP again, I should get responses. So you can see we are getting replies from from the machine, from the Lian Yu machine. So we are good to go. All right. So what do we have to do now? Now that we can connect to the machine, we can ask these questions. We can start with our enumeration. So mostly we have to know the open ports that we can access. So I'll just start an Nmrp, and then before I'll do an Nmrp, I may want to add the IP address, this IP address into my host file, and then give it a very descriptive name, which will be easier for me to reference instead of always typing the IP. I can just reference by the name. So I can echo the IP. So the IP is here, and then I'll name it Lian Yu .thm for TryHackMe, and then I can append this to my host file. All right, so they should be good to go. Now if I ping lianu.tryhackme instead of the IP address, I should get responses as usual. So this is all right. So now we can start with our Nmrp enumeration. So Nmrp -s v for versions, and then sc for default scripts, on for to save the output of the Nmrp to a file called Nmrp, and then I'm using this t3. I want that is speed, and then pn -pn. It shouldn't do any host discovery, and then -v is to make it verbose. So I'll be seeing the ports show up, the open ports show up whilst the scan is being done, and then I'll now add the host name or our IP address, which we can now reference as lianyu.thm. So let's start the Nmrp scan. So as we can see, we already have some discovered ports open. We have 111.80. Yeah, so the Nmrp scan is done. And then we can open up the results in Sublime Text. All right, so these are the open ports. So we have a FTP open, SSH, and then we also have HTTP open as well, and then we have a RPC bind open on port 111. All right, so we can try to access FTP, but from this Nmrp scan, we can see that we don't have anonymous login access to this Nmrp. So we may need credentials, that is username and password, in order to be able to access or see whatever is stored on the FTP server. And then SSH2, we'll need creds, we'll need credentials. So from here, what we can start with first is port 80, which is HTTP. So the server is Apache running HTTP daemon. So let's try and see if we can see anything from the HTTP port 80. So we'll say Lian Yu. All right, so this is what we have. We have something like a static web page, arrow verse Oliver Jonas. Or what was Oliver Jonas? Okay, so this is what we have. So let's go back to the challenge and see what they're asking of us. Okay, so deploy the VPN and start enumeration. So we've deployed the VPN, and then we have started with the enumeration because we've done the Nmrp scan to see the open ports. Okay, so the next thing is to, what is a directory you found? So we need to find a directory. They're talking about a web directory over here. So we've already tried to access the web server from our browser. Okay, so the server is hosting some files, so we're able to access the index, which is with title purgatory. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this word. That's okay. So we have this, but it is asking us what is the directory we found. So it means there is a subdirectory we need to locate, and we can only do this using directory brute forcing. So to brute force directory, we have to use go buster. We can use there buster as well. You can also use wfast or ff. We have so many directory brute forcing tools you can use, but mostly I use go buster. So I will just create another window for directory brute forcing. So I will name this particular window go bust for go buster. So all our go busting are going to be done here. I can also just make my screen full so that we have a better real estate to see the output of the commands. So to use the go buster, I'll just say go buster directory. All right, I ran this command already sometime. So the directory, we are trying to do directory brute forcing, and then -u is the URL we want to access. So we have to throw in a word list. So use the -w for the word list. So where can I find the word list? User share word list. Okay. The buster directory list 2.3 medium. Okay, so this is the word list we are going to use. 2.3 medium. And then I want it to move faster, so I'll say, okay, let's use thread of 100. You can just leave it here and start the command, but I want it faster, so I'll just try to push 10 threads, 100, sorry, 100 threads at a go. So let's see if this will give us something. So let's watch the output. All right. So we have a subdirectory called island. Okay. So we get back to what is the web directory you found. Okay. So we found island. So where do we put our notes? Okay. So web there found. So we found something here. We just try to record what we find. So we found a directory called island. Okay, so we'll try to see if we supply this directory, whether that's the right directory they are looking for. If we put island, I know what the result will be. It will not work because your answer is incorrect. So it means they are not looking for island. It means there's also something or another directory. They still want us to dig deep. Okay, so island didn't work. The server status, this one is just a redirect, so you don't have to. So we are actually looking for, this is the redirect, this one redirects you to island. So this one just gives you a server status. We're not looking for this. All right, so we can try to access the island itself and see what we have in there. Also, before we proceed, okay, we always want to view the page source. Mostly we have some information, comments, you know. The developers always put sometimes they leave out some information which are vital to hackers. Okay, so it's always a good practice to view the page source if you can. So let's see whether we can pick out some information from the page source here. Looking at it, this is the comments. I don't see anything here, so it's fine. We can move ahead. So we have island, a subdirectory called island. You can navigate to it and see what is in there. So if you try to access the subdirectory island, this is what we have. This is the page to serve you. We have, oh no, don't talk. I wasn't expecting you at this moment. I will meet you there. You should find a way to Lian Yu as planned. Okay, so it means this island, we are not yet at the destination. We need to go further. Okay, so to Lian Yu, we need to find a way to Lian Yu. So all this information, I just pick them as information. So I will just come here and say users. So I'll say Lian Yu is a potential user. I don't know if it's actually a user. Then over here too, I'll try to view page source. All right, so if I try to view the page source here, this is what I get. I wasn't expecting you at this moment. I will, okay, you should find a way to Lian Yu as we plan. The code word is, okay, so you see the code word is, and then we cannot see what the code word is here. It's hidden. Okay, they have hidden it from us, so it's obfuscated. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but it's hidden. We cannot see it with our eyes over here. All right, but if you go into the page source, we can see something. We can see the code word is, and then we can see vigilante. Okay, so vigilante is a code word. It's something that we should take note of. Okay, and we can see that they have actually masked it by making it white so that it blends with the background, you know. the background is white. So if the text is white, you cannot see white on white background. Okay, so that's why we cannot view it here. All right, so we can see that vigilante could also be a potential username or something. So we just add it to our names that we have because it's a code word. All right, also over here we could have also accessed this from the developer tools. Okay, we could have actually removed the masking from here. So if you go to inspect, all right, and then you go to where it was masked. Where is it? Okay, so the color, if we change the color to red, let's see. All right, so we'll be able to display the vigilante, which they didn't want us to see. All right, so we have that. We have some information. We are gathering pieces of information bit by bit. All right, so let's proceed. Okay, so we are still trying to find the directory. So once we are here, so what we have to now do is to try to do another directory brute forcing from the subdirectory, which is island, to see if we can find something. So here we come, and this time around, instead of just stopping at the root, we go to a subdirectory called island and find out if we can see something different. Come on. All right, so I'm just clicking the screen, so I'll put that command here so that we'll see the different outputs. So let's wait for it to see, and then immediately we have another subdirectory from the subdirectory of island. Okay, so this one is 2100. We can try it and see if it works. So if we put 2100 here, there we go. So that is the subdirectory they were looking up, they were looking for. So what are they asking us now? What is the file name you found? What is the file name you found? So they want the file name you found from this subdirectory. Okay, so we have to go into the subdirectory to see if we can have further information. So we have 2100. Let's see what we have. Sorry. Let's see what we have in there. We just have how Oliver Queen find his way. Like we have a YouTube. No, we have a video. Yeah, a YouTube video which has been terminated. We don't have much here. There's no much information here. So what we do again is we are viewing a lot of source, a lot of page source here to see if they provide further information. So from this page source, I think they are providing a clue here. You can avail your ticket, your dot ticket. Okay, you can avail your dot ticket here, but how? All right. So they were like, what is the file name you found? And then we have a clue that there is a file with an extension of .ticket. So you can just put this .ticket here. It means we have a file with an extension .ticket inside the 2100 subdirectory. All right, so that's the way we can reason to try to find this out. So what we do is we do a further directory brute forcing, but this time around we are going to enter the folder, the subdirectory 2100, and then we are also going to indicate an extension. So you indicate an extension with -x, which and then we have dot tickets, or if you remove the dot, it will include a dot in the extension. and then we can start a new brute force. All right, and see what we will get. All right, good. So we've been able to get a file called greenarrow.ticket. So we have greenarrow.ticket. So we are making progress. We go back and try to supply that and see if our answer will be right. Yes, so we are right. So we have greenarrow.ticket. So what is the FTP password? All right. So we need to find the FTP password. We don't know what the password is. So I'm sure probably if you supply the ticket, the file, if you try to find the file, it should contain some password for us. So let's try to access the dot ticket. Let's access it from here. Let's see. Oh shit. Let's do it this way. I'll just prepend with some HTTP and see what we get. Good. So we have some file here, some encoded some text here which I think is encoded. This is just a token to get into Queen's Gambit. So I suspect this is an encoded password or something. Okay, because if you try to supply this as a password, it's not going to work. So this is absolutely not the password, and it's encoded. But how do you know what encoding has been used? It looks like a base 64 encoding. Okay, so you can try to decode it with base 64 or the bases or other bases. So you can try with the bases. I tried with base 64, it didn't work. I tried with other bases and other encoding, and finally I realized it was a base 58 encoding. So this one, I'm just giving out a clue here so that we don't prolong the video. Let me end this directory search. All right, so it's a base 64 encoding. Sorry, base 58 encoding. So we can use a cyber chef to decode it. We can also decode it from the terminal, or you can also use an online decoding method. If you just search for base 58 decode, you get a lot of resources you can use online to decode it. But what I do mostly, I like to stay on the terminal. So okay, so first of all, I'll try to use cyber chef. Sorry, I'll try to use cyber chef to do the decoding, and then I'll search for base 58 and I'll throw the code here, and then this gives us our password. So it decodes it to this particular password. Okay, so I have users and passwords. All right, so this particular base 58 has been decoded to this particular password. So we can try it and see if it works. What's happening? Is my internet? Come on. Alright, so I think it had to do with my internet connectivity. So it works, so that's the password. Now they are asking for what is the file name with password. What's the file name with SSH password? So it means we have the SSH password stored in a particular file. We have to find this file. And how do we find this file? Since we have a clue that we've gotten a password for the FTP, we can try to use this password to access the FTP server. So let's see. So I'll just create another window and I'll name it FTP. So this is where we are going to do all our FTP magic. And also I'll create an FTP folder inside, and then I'll move into it so that whatever we find from the FTP, we can download or save it in there. So we can cd into FTP. So now we are in FTP folder. Sorry, we don't have anything here. So we can now try to connect to our FTP server with the password we got. So we say FTP Lian Yu. So the username. So now we don't know the username we have to use for this password. Okay, what we can do is we can actually do FTP brute force with a list of usernames that we have already acquired and then their passwords. And this password, we can spray this password across the users, or we can try them one by one. Because there are only two, it will be easier to try. But if we have a list of users, it will be good to actually use maybe Suite intruder. You can use Suite intruder, or you can also use Hydra, which is command line. I like using Hydra most of the time to do my my brute forcing. All right, so with this one, the username is Vigilante for the FTP. Okay, you can try. If you try Lian Yu, it won't work. If you try Vigilante, so Vigilante works. So let's try with Vigilante as the username, and then the password, we supply this password. All right, so we are in our FTP server. So that's it. So we can list directory. So if we list directory, we can see that we have some files over here. Leave me alone.png, queens gambits.pa, and aa.jpg. All right, so what we have to do mostly, we can also list and then -a to show hidden files. Sometimes some files are hidden, so it's always a good practice to try to show all hidden files. All right, so all these hidden files are actually system files, which we don't have any useful information in there. So these are the 3 files which are of interest to us. And then also, if you are in an FTP server, you can try to move up the directory to see, because you've been able to log in into a particular directory, so the user directory. So if you go back, if you navigate back, you may find other users. So it's a practice that is good. So I'll just cd and then ... which should take me back into a directory upwards. And then if I list directory again, I can see that we have other users or other user. So we have Vigilante and then Slade. Okay, so if we hadn't navigated back, it would have been difficult for us to see this other user. So we have a user also called Slade. Okay, so Slade is also a user. So we can come back. So if you try to cd into Slade, we have failed. We couldn't, because we don't have access. You can see that we don't have read or write permissions to his folder, so we cannot do anything over there for now. So we just go back to our Vigilante. We cd back into our Vigilante folder, and then we list again. We see that we have the 3 files. So since we are in our FTP folder, we have to download all these files, and mostly I download, you can download them one by one, but you can also download them at a go. So mostly I make sure that I turn off prompt. So prompt off. So I turn off in my prompt, and then I get all the files. So if you use mget with an asterisk or a wildcard, it will download all the files. So we can actually try to check if that was downloaded. If we move into our FTP, if we cd into our FTP folder, and then we'll list, we see that we have the files downloaded for us. Okay, so that's it. But we still haven't solved the problem here. So we have to now try to see what these files that we've downloaded contain. They are image files. All of them are image files. We have JPG and PNG files. So I can try to check the first file and see what is in it. So this one is aa.jpg. All right, and then leave me alone. So this particular file, we cannot access it. I think it's corrupted. And then the last file is Queen Gambit. All right, so this is Queen Gambit. So Queen Gambit is also a JPG, so we can access the first and then the third file. So why can't we access the second file? All right, so we'll find a way to access it later on, but let's see whether the first file, it has some hidden information in it. You know, we have to do some steganography to see whether they have hidden some information in the image file. So I use TechHide most of the time, and then to find the info in aa.jpg. Okay, so aa.jpg, try to get information about data. So I say yes, I want to get information. So it means it has some information, but it will require a password before we able to get this information from this file. Okay, so we cannot access whatever information it has now. We need a password. All right, so I'll close this one for now, and then I have an idea, I have a feeling that the passwords may be stored in one of these files. Okay, so let me get back here, let me end my FTP session and clear my screen, then get back here. Okay, so I just want to keep things tidy. All right, so what we have to do now is to try to check what is wrong with our second image file. Why can't we see the content of it? Why is it displaying as corrupt? Okay, so the best thing we can do is to actually try to check the hex data. Okay, so we can use to check the hex data whether the magic bits are properly set. If not, then we have to set them right before we can open the file. All right, so I use hex editor over here. Leave me alone. Oh, what is that? I don't know what happened. So let's see. Hex editor. Let's see. Okay. LL, leave me alone. So hex editor. Leave me alone. .png. All right. So this is the hex data. All right, so we have the magic bits here. So these are the magic bits. You can read about magic bits. It defines the file type. All right, so we can check because we're able to open this third PNG. So it means that that one, we are sure that its magic bits were set right. So what you can do is you can just go onto the internet and then you find out magic bits for PNG. All right, that one will give you, or you can open a PNG file that opens properly, and then you can check the magic bits. Okay, so I'll just cheat over here. Instead of going onto the internet, I'll just use hex editor again, and then this time around I'll check the magic bits of Queen Gambit and compare. All right, so if you compare, so the right part of the screen, so the right has the proper magic bits set, and then this part you can see that the magic bits are not set. That's why we couldn't open the file. So to set them, I'll just come back to that particular pane, and then I'll set it right. So the first one is 89, so 89, 50, and then we have 4E, 47, and then 0D, 0A, 1A, and then 0A. So this should be right. And now we can save. So we can save it. So what name? We have to give it, we want to give it a different name. So leave me alone, and then I can just say v1 dot png. I mean v1, so version, okay, v2, version 2 of the file. And then you have to add the extension. If not, the file will not open. All right, so that one is that's saved. Okay, so we can now try to open leave me alone and see v2 and see if it opens. Yes, we have it here. So we've been able to repair the broken image file. So we can see, just leave me alone here, take it here, take it what you want. So they have put the password. So the password actually is password, and then this password is supposed to be the password that we were being asked when we try to open aa.jpg with TechHide. Okay, so we have a password. You can save another password here as password. So this is interesting, the password called password. Well, that's not a good password policy. All right, so we have this. So we can go back and try to find the information. So we can go back to TechHide, and then so now I'm entering password as the password, and here we go. We have some information. So we have embedded file called ss.zip. Okay, we have an embedded file called ss.zip inside the aa.jpg. So we have to extract this information. So we can use TechHide again, and then we use extract, and then -sf, and then aa.jpg. So this particular command should extract the information we have. So we put the password again as password, and then voila, we have the information extracted. So if we list, we can now see that we have a zip file here. So what do we do? I'll just extract the zip. I'll use unzip to extract, So we now have some new files here. We have password.txt. We can try to see what we have in there. Let me go here. Okay, I can not. And this is not the right window I wanted to. Okay, so cd ftp. So we can try to check the information. We can cut password.txt and see what we have in there. This is your visa to land in Lian Yu, small note. Haven't spent years, so I think we don't have a lot of information here. It's just trying to waste our time. And then we have another file called shadow. Okay, but it doesn't have any extension. We don't know whether we can open it or we can open it, so you can actually find out the kind of file it is. So it's called Clarion Developer. I don't know what Clarion Developer is. I can look it up in on the web, but I'll just try to see if I can open the file. So let's see if I can cut shadow.txt. Yes, I've been able to cut it, and then I can see it has something like a password. Okay, so shadow has a password. So we have another password here called metahuman. Okay, I think this is a lit word. Metahuman, lit. All right, so we go back to our questions, and then what is the file name with SSH password? So we assume the password that we got is from that file called shadow. So the shadow was what gave us that last password we got. So that's the file, this file here, shadow. So yeah, so we're right. And then they are saying SSH password. Okay, so it means we have an SSH password, but we don't know the SSH username. Okay, so the username could be Lian Yu, it could be Vigilante, it could be Slate. So we can try them. So we can try Vigilante, which we tried first to see. So I'll create another window and call it SSH. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do my SSH. So SSH vigilante.lianyu, and then I have the password here, metahuman. I'll try to put metahuman in there to see if it works. It doesn't. So metahuman, sorry, vigilante doesn't work. So I can try the other user name, the first one, to see if that one works. Sorry, not this one. It's what Lian underscore U, and then the password is metahuman. So I'm putting this password here, copying it and pasting the password. Yes, so this one too doesn't work. So it means the two usernames are not the SSH usernames. Okay, so they don't have SSH access. So we can try the last one, which is Slate. So we go back and then we SSH Slate at TryHackMe, and then I put the password, and then welcome, voila, we have the initial foothold. So we've been able to enter the box with username Slate and then the password metahuman. So we can now hunt for our user flag. So we look for user.txt. So okay, so ls So if you list the file, we can get a user.txt. So we can cut user.txt and see what we have in there. So this is the user file. You can copy that and then we can put it here. Yeah, so we got our user flag. So now we have to go for the root flag. Okay, so to get the root flag, mostly I always start with the low-hanging fruit. So you have to do this is a Linux privilege escalation. We have to escalate privileges. We just have we don't have root access yet. We have basic user access, so we now need to go in for the root access. So I check the sudo dash L or LL. Let's try LL first, and then we know the password for Slate. Okay, his password is MetaHuman. It was already in my, oh sorry, I thought that was what was on the clipboard. So let's copy MetaHuman. All right, so we have it here. So if you use sudo dash L or dash LL, you'll be able to see the commands a particular user can run as a root. So if it's possible to get root access running that command, it's going to be an easy way to get root access. Okay, so we can see that the user Slate, you can run the pkexec as root. So if we have some pseudo binaries, we can actually get root from this. So what we do mostly is that you have a very good resource, GTF obins. So if you go to GTF obins and then you type the binary. So if you type the binary, so the binary here is pkexec. So if you type the binary, it should actually show you how you can get a root if you have sudo access to that particular binary file. So as simple as it is, we just copy the command from here, then we run it, and then we have root. So if you say who am I'm root, and then ID is root. Okay, let's try to clear. So I have cleared my window. We now have root access. So what we have to do is to go after our root flag. So let's see where we are. pwd yeah, so we have root, the root dot text is over there already, so we just cut it, root.txt, yeah, and then we have our root flag here. So we try it. And yes, we've been able to solve the root. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and we prepare for another video very soon. Thank you so much.